Our speaker, Bodily, a recent graduate of our program who has gone to do great things with Lumen Learning. And he is here to share with us some of the things that he has learned and some of the things he's working on. We're grateful to have him. So he'll join me in welcoming Bob to our seminar today.
Do I need this to show up here so you guys can see it, or at the side? One's okay? Should I put it up here?
No, we do want it up front.
Yes.
Is it here? I don't know how to stick it on here. Is it come on? Perfect. So yeah, like I said, I'm Bob Bodily. My presentation today is titled Instructional Design is King. If you've heard, the content is king idea, and then I added in queen to be a little bit more equitable. I understand it is. I understand it is in parentheses, but so today I want to talk about technology and instructional design. Oh, I think that might have just been my computer. This is my family, me and my family. That's me, my wife, Valerie. She's coming. And then my three kids, Annie, Bennett, and Josie. So Annie is if you look over behind, Annie's on the far right. She's no longer on the far right. There's going to be a quiz in about 5 seconds on my children. So if you didn't get a good look, just kidding. In the meantime, who here would call themselves an instructional designer? I saw a few half-hearted hands. I'm not sure what that means. Maybe you're not excited to be an instructional designer. How many of you are a researcher? Researcher, we have a few. How many of you would call yourselves a methodologist? Few hands. Okay, we're back. So this is. All right, we're not back. Maybe it's my cord. I borrowed this cord.
We borrowed one last semester, though, and it worked just fine.
We'll try one more time. There's a different cord right here.
Well, you guys keep your hands down a little bit.
Okay.
I've got another dongle if you want to borrow it.
Do you have HDMI to new MacBook?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's try that. Thanks.
Three people.
So it'll go up, and then after like 5 seconds, it'll turn back off, but it might, the new dongle might have just been. So we can try it.
When it's a
It passes the screen test.
Now start actually presenting, so you're not presenting yet, maybe.
Okay, so this is Annie. We're good. This is Josie, that's Bennett. This is my wife, Valerie. I got my undergrad in neuroscience at BYU. Got my PhD here in the arguably top 5 IP&T program in the US.
It's not arguable, there's data behind that, right, Bob?
Well, that's why I said arguable. Data supported, but some people might disagree. Fun facts, I've published with 8 different IP&T faculty. I applied for faculty positions twice, had 15 phone interviews, 4 on-campus interviews, and 0 offers. And I wrote the music for hymn lyrics that Dr. Graham wrote. And my goal is to run a sub 17-minute 5K this year. That was also my goal last year. Last year I had a baby in May, and that I had to decide to not achieve my goal because having a healthy wife was more important than achieving my goal.
Good
All right.
for you.
So I want to talk about technology versus instructional design. They don't necessarily have to compete, but in some cases they do. So this is my technology slide. On it you can find all of the HIT and HIP and HOP and new and exciting technologies over the past, I don't know, 30 years. Usually words that come with these technologies are game-changing, or we're going to reinvent, or we're going to disrupt or revolutionize, or we have a broken higher education system. I thought it would be fun to add a few technologies to this slide. So go ahead and shoot me a few, and we can just throw them in right now. Who has a technology they want to add to the slide?
Video conferencing?
Microphone.
Video conferencing, okay with that?
Video conferencing. So this isn't specifically a technology, but requires technology. Is learning analytics up there?
I think it is up there.
Oh, I see it now. Okay, I was searching for it, but didn't see it, but no, I did.
Video conferencing, anyone else?
Open source.
I'm okay with open source. What else? Is it too small to see?
What about VR and AR?
They're there.
Yeah, VR and AR are on here. What else?
You have Google Classroom?
I don't have Google Classroom. I'm okay with that one. Let's do maybe 1 or 2 more.
How about makerspace?
Oh, that's a good one. Can't believe I forgot the good old makerspace. The 2 words? 1 word? Anything else?
I think you have online learning twice, so you could change one of those to blended learning.
Online learning is twice. Blended learning now represented. Okay, so that's my technology slide. Here is my instructional design slide. This one is not as cohesive as I would have liked, but still serves the purpose. What kinds of things would you add to this instructional design slide? And let's throw a few of them up.
Is open education on there somewhere?
I don't think so. I feel kind of bad about that one.
You said, I feel like your boss would have something to say about that.
Yeah. What else?
We got one from the chat, blockchain technology, HTML5, and critical thinking.
Ooh, blockchain was on the technology slide.
Okay.
HTML5 was not. I could add that critical thinking. I like that. What else?
You have UDL?
Say that again.
UDL?
UDL, Universal
Design for learning.
UDL is not on here.
Do you have computational thinking?
I do have computational thinking. I got the nod to Peter, but I missed the nod to Charles.
What about problem-based learning? Is it up there?
I think it is up there.
Project-based is problem-based.
Ooh,
bottom one.
I think I might have just done project.
No, it's in the bottom one. Oh, never mind, it's problem
That's
solving.
problem
Never mind.
solving, that's different.
But this is,
Let's just change it.
That's not the same.
Do you have DBL up there?
yes, sir.
I think,
Oh,
I just research, let's just change that.
Well,
no,
Oh,
it's different.
decision-based learning.
Decision-based learning didn't make the cut, but I guess we can include it.
I'll represent for Ken since I don't think he's here.
What else?
Critical thinking evaluation.
Is that different from critical thinking?
Well, you took it.
Did I remove critical?
Oh,
thinking?
sorry, just evaluation.
Yeah, I don't think evaluation's on here. Sorry, Randy. Okay, good. The purpose of this exercise was to distinguish between two ways of thinking about education. There's a technology-centric view of education, and there's a design-centric view of education. There are many companies that take a technology-centered approach to education. So these are just headlines that I pulled, really easy to find. Investors are betting the Netflix of education can give kids what schools can't. Uber for tutor, disrupting education. We have a famous Newton quote. We think of it like a robot tutor in the sky that can semi-read your mind and figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are down to the percentile, says founder and CEO of EdTech company Newton, who was recently sold for pennies on the dollar to Wiley. Game changer, might it be social learning, artificial intelligence, how education, AI is making the grade, revolutionize the K-12 experience. Summit Learning, which was the big Zuckerberg-backed initiative for personalized learning, and the research coming out of there was kind of not so great. And then how blockchain can disrupt the education industry. So there are a lot of technology-centered views of education. One of my goals today is to convince you that Lumen Learning takes an instructional design-centered approach to education, and that is one of the reasons why Lumen has been successful. So Lumen Learning's mission is to enable unprecedented learning for all students. We do this by providing affordable course materials, using open educational resources. We apply learning science insights to develop iterative improvements to our courses, and our materials are engineered to improve subject mastery, course completion, and retention. So you can see that in this mission statement, there isn't really any technology mentioned, but there are a few interesting instructional design principles. So the technology-centric view might say, see that person on the top of the mountain? They might say, you know, personalized learning, adaptive learning, that's going to get us there. All we need is, you know, that's the silver bullet. That's going to disrupt or revolutionize education. Other people might say, oh, you know, blockchain or micro-credentials or any technology-centered viewpoint is going to say this technology is the way that we're going to get there. In contrast, Lumen Learning believes in an incremental approach to improving education. So we're not looking for kind of this big, huge improvement. Rather, we're taking steps, and step by step, we're going to get to where we want to go. So a few of these, day one access. Many students don't have their textbooks on the first day of class or for the first week of class because textbooks are expensive, and students might decide not to purchase them, or they purchase them late, and so they have to wait for textbooks to arrive. With Lumen materials, everything is free and open, and so all students have day one access. There's a correlation between student achievement and day one access. We haven't actually done an experimental study there. We have a $25 price point. This is significantly lower than competitive prices. So if you think of Pearson or McGraw-Hill or Wiley, And they have a textbook homework system combo for like $100 or $150 or $200 depending on the course. So $25 undercuts the price, and we're able to do that because we have a more efficient business model, and so we can still have success with a lower price point. This is also much more affordable for students. Digital only, so we don't do print. You can print it if you would like, but going digital only has its benefits. We can update content in real time. We don't have to worry about a print and production cycle. We have a little bit of personalization in our study plan. I'll talk a little bit about our product Waymaker in a little bit. We do also have a prior learning assessment as part of that study plan. We believe in learning by doing, so including interactive exercises and practice activities as you go through learning. We provide immediate feedback on all of these questions. If you get it wrong, we say why you got it wrong. If you get it right, we say why you got it right to reinforce correct principles. We have an instructor messaging tool that empowers instructors to interact and engage with their students in a scalable way. We implement student nudges to track how students are doing and nudge them appropriately to help them to succeed. We do something called a RISE analysis for our continuous improvement efforts. I'll talk more about this later as well. We do continuous improvement hackathons where we work with departments who have adopted our course materials, and we go out and we bring all of the data, all of their student data, and then over the course of a day, we improve the course materials for that course. We also do H5P hackathons. Who's heard of H5P? A few. H5P is a really easy way to create interactive learning materials that are modular, so you can drop them into course materials, and you can grade those depending on how it's set up. And so we train faculty how to do that, and then we show them which outcomes students are struggling with and have them develop interactive activities. We have a community-based continuous improvement initiative where we are reaching out to faculty and subject matter experts to come together and iteratively improve our course content. We're integrating open pedagogy assignments into our courses. Who's heard of open pedagogy? A few of you. The simplest way to define it might be it's a renewable assignment. So instead of having like a homework assignment that you fill out and your instructor grades it, they give it back to you and you throw it away, it's a meaningful contribution to the world. So maybe it's you developing a YouTube video or writing a blog post or adding a contribution to Wikipedia or something like that. We provide many PowerPoints and class activities and discussion boards for our faculty and faculty resources. And everything that we do is outcome aligned, which is backwards design. We do provide world-class support to faculty and have a somewhat mastery-based summative assessment. So really what I wanted to get across is there's not a quick way to get to the top. It's more like 100 small things that have, a 0.25% to 1% of improvement, and to really create a comprehensive and functional educational experience, you need to have all of the pieces. And contrasting that, I think it contrasts nicely with the technology-centered view. So these are the founders of Lumen Learning. Kim Thanos, David Wiley, Tom Chapman, COO. Who here does not know who David Wiley is, or has not heard of David Wiley? So David Wiley was faculty here in the IP&T department. Then he was adjunct, and then he started Lumen Learning, and so he's there full-time now. So one of the reasons I wanted to come and tell you a little bit about Lumen is, I think
He's
sorry.
still adjunct. He'll those who are
he is.
interested in taking his open Those who are interested in taking Intro to Open Education from him, he'll be teaching it in the fall. And so he teaches that every other year in the fall.
I didn't know with his recent move to West Virginia if that was going to affect his adjunct abilities.
Yes, it put it in some doubt, but I think
Great,
he will be teaching it.
cool. Yeah, if you can, take a class from him. One of the reasons I wanted to come is I feel like Lumen Learning embodies many good principles of instructional design. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about our product, Waymaker. Waymaker is one of our main products.
Called Personalized Learning Tools for Students and Faculty, packaged with the best available open education resources.
Okay, so this is a 4.5 minute intro to Waymaker. This is pretty comprehensive, so I figured I would just let the video do the demo rather than me do the demo.
Waymaker courses from Lumen Learning provide a set of powerful, personalized learning tools for students and faculty, packaged with the best available open education resources, also known as OER. Research shows Waymaker courses can erase the Pell penalty that usually exists for socioeconomically challenged students. When implemented effectively, it puts Pell-eligible students on equal footing with their non-Pell-eligible peers. Let's take a closer look at what happens inside Waymaker courses to drive these gains in learning and student success. One of the most distinctive features of Waymaker courses is a set of simple-to-use faculty messaging tools. Designed to foster connection between faculty and students, the messaging tools help instructors to quickly identify and reach struggling students. Configuring these tools only takes a couple of minutes at the beginning of the term. After that, Waymaker monitors how students are performing on graded quizzes and how they are using, or not using, the course content. It acts as a virtual assistant for instructors, sending out automated messages periodically to encourage students with a "keep up the good work" message when they score well on a quiz. And when students perform poorly because they aren't spending enough time to prepare for a quiz, Waymaker sends a message from the instructor reminding them to review the material and use the self-checks so that they can improve their scores. Research shows a clear positive correlation between teachers using these Waymaker messaging tools and their students' quiz scores. For students, Waymaker courses help develop metacognitive muscles with personalized study plans to guide them through the course material, give them individualized feedback about their performance, and present interactive activities to encourage practice and self-directed learning. Study plans have a common structure, laying out the learning outcomes, instructional content, and learning activities to help students develop mastery. Each tile opens to show the learning activities it contains. Study plans start with explaining why it matters by introducing the learning outcomes and how students can apply this knowledge in the real world. Next, students are invited to take an ungraded Show What You Know pretest to test their current knowledge. When they go back to the study plan after the pretest, they'll see personalized feedback about where to focus based on their pretest results. The study plan updates this individual guidance each time students take self-checks and quizzes. The learning activities inside each tile provide the best available open educational resources to develop students' understanding of the material. Waymaker courses include text, video, graphics, and images, as well as a varying range of simulations, case studies, and interactive try-it-yourself practice activities. As students work through a Waymaker course, the study plan updates dynamically based on results from their self-checks and quizzes. By reflecting their own learning data back to students in a very simple, actionable way, students can use their agency to make informed choices about how to study and where to focus to improve their learning. Waymaker also gives students 2 attempts on each graded quiz, encouraging students through the updated study plan to go back and study the outcomes they have difficulty with before taking their second quiz attempt. Faculty can also grant additional quiz attempts to students as they feel is necessary. When students are spending time with the course material, but still aren't scoring well on quizzes, Waymaker will notify the faculty member. With just a couple of clicks, the instructor can quickly see exactly where the student is struggling and send a message inviting the student to get individualized help. From anecdotal feedback and learning data analysis, we are seeing that students perform better and feel more engaged when instructors use the messaging tools. Students and faculty access Waymaker courses through their institution's learning management system, or LMS. This walkthrough is in Canvas, but institutions also use Waymaker integrated with Desire to Learn Brightspace, Moodle, and Blackboard. Waymaker courseware can replace expensive textbooks in many high-enrollment college courses. Visit us at lumenlearning.com to see a course list, preview course content, request a deeper dive demo, and learn more about teaching with Waymaker.
Okay, perfect. So tell me, what instructional design principles did you see throughout that demo?
I'm so inspired.
What instructional design principles?
Meaningful, actionable feedback. Meaningful, actionable feedback.
Yep,
Say it 3 times.
as true the second time as it was the first time. What else?
Microphone.
I saw a lot of interactive content, so simulations and other content where students got feedback from the learner content interaction.
Yep.
It's also diagnostic, so teachers can identify students who maybe need a little extra help.
Yeah. Yeah, what else?
So it's the mastery learning, and get a chance to read it things, and prior to doing that, they get the understanding.
Yep.
Melissa from the chat window says the personalized study plan.
Yep. What else? I'm really giving you a chance here to flex your instructional design mastery. Anything else?
It's the first week of the semester. We're still waking up.
You're still waking up? Well, we can wait for you to wake up. I'm okay with that. I'm not afraid of a little silence. Let's get a few more.
So I'm not really sure what term you would use for it. But just the fact that it tracked how long students spend on assignments and noted the students who were working diligently on the assignments but still scoring low on tests, so that it could give instructors like an indicator of, hey, the student is working but still not getting it, that they need some extra help.
Yep.
Yeah, personalized messages, and I like that they did a study and found a positive correlation, always trying to test and evaluate materials and assignment design.
Yeah. Perfect. So these are a few things that I pulled out. Some more instructional design principle related, some a little tangentially related. Leveraging open educational resources is a benefit in terms of remixing, redesigning, step towards mastery-based learning, empowering instructors, immediate, timely feedback, formative assessment. I think you guys nailed nailed a lot of those ones. So now I wanted to talk to you about our continuous improvement efforts. So this is using data from our courses to iteratively and continuously improve our courses. At the recent and what turned out to be the final Open Ed conference, I went around and talked to all the vendors and a bunch of researchers asking who is doing continuous improvement in a clear, structured, consistent way. And people said, oh yeah, you know, that's something we're trying to do more or something like that, but I didn't get any good answers for people doing continuous improvement of their courses in a clear, consistent way. So I wanted to present a little bit about the continuous improvement efforts we're doing. This is an example of the outcome hierarchy in a Lumen Learning course. So this is the central node. This is like the course level. So this is Intro to Business. Within Intro to Business, we have like, I don't know, this is like 15 modules. Within each module, you can see there's 3 to 6 sections. And within every section, there's 3 to 6 skills. So we have, I don't know, this is probably like 300 skills connected to like 100 section level outcomes connected to like 15 module level outcomes. So every single Waymaker course has this kind of outcome hierarchy, and this kind of design, like this is a core instructional design principle, is to lay out the learning outcomes for your course and then develop the content and the assessments to line up with those learning outcomes. And every Lumen Learning Waymaker course is designed in this way, which enables us to do a lot of really cool and exciting things. So like I just said, we have all of our content that's aligned to specific skill outcomes, and all of our assessment items also are directly aligned to those skill level outcomes. So research, yeah.
Can you give, I mean, 150 outcomes for a class seem like too many. So I'm just wondering, maybe I'm not understanding.
Yeah, let's.
Could you give us some examples of what
is the best way for me to show that?
Level that those outcomes are at?
I'm just going to dive in here. So this is going to look pretty messy, but it's going to do what I need it to do, so forgive the text. Okay, so align with a single pound. That's a module level outcome. And then this is a section level outcome, and this is a skill outcome. So you can see for this is our lifespan development course. The module is explain the primary topics of lifespan development and how research is conducted in the field. The section level is define human development and identify the stages of human development. And the skill outcome is describe human development and its 3 domains: physical, cognitive, and psychosocial development. And then we have the items associated with this skill. And then the second skill for this course is explain key human development issues about the nature of change, continuous, discontinuous, one course, multi.
So is it that third level that you have the 100 plus?
We have like 300 for this.
For that third level.
Yeah, but it totally depends on the course. The Intro to Business course is a big course, and it covers maybe more than you would cover in a single course. So instructors usually kind of sample from the course.
Do the outcomes tend to be, because you were saying skills, and so I was thinking maybe a little bit differently. Do the outcomes tend to be like discrete chunks of knowledge like this? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, that makes a little more sense. Then.
Yeah, it's not skills like you should be able to create a PowerPoint, or it's not like a demonstrable skill as much as it's a chunk of knowledge. Good question. One of the other nice things about the design of a Lumen system, sorry I have Slack going, I should have turned that off. Maybe I'll just exit really quick. Apologize. Okay. So we track data about how students interact in a Lumen course. And this can help us identify what needs refining, but it can't give us the legal permission to refine those resources. Whereas open educational resources, leveraging those can give us permission to make refinements, but it can't tell us what needs to be refined. And so by combining OER with learning analytics and research, means we can treat learning materials as hypotheses that can be tested and refined over time. You can think from like a research context, you have a hypothesis and you test the hypothesis. Hypotheses are rarely correct the first time around. We take the same approach with our learning materials. As an instructor, as an instructional designer, you're developing learning materials because you think that's the best way to help students learn, which may or may not actually be the case. But if we can use data to inform our improvements, then we can continually improve our learning materials. So we do something called a RISE analysis. Who has heard of RISE? High fives to all of you people. I actually published the first paper. So basically I invented this analysis, which, I mean, talking about it now makes me feel like conceited, like I'm just talking about the things that I invented. But people are starting to talk about RISE analysis in ways that it's like a real thing that people do, which feels weird because we just like sat down in the old IP&T conference room that used to be like over there, right where, the corner. Anyway, so me, David Wiley, and Rob Nyland, if you knew Rob Nyland, wrote a paper on, it's called Resource Inspection, Selection, and Enhancement. So we take all of the skill outcomes in a course and we plot it on this 2x2 matrix based on how much students use it, so content engagement, and assessment performance on the y-axis. So if a student does really well, or if for a particular learning outcome students have used it a lot and have done well, we might say it's an effective resource or strong outcome alignment or something like that. If they didn't use it very much and still did well, we maybe had high prior student knowledge or it was an inherently easy learning outcome. If students didn't use it and they scored low, there may have been some barrier to access, or maybe there's too much material or low student motivation, like maybe it came in during midterm time and students just didn't have time. The quadrant that we really focus on is this high use, low score quadrant. Students are using the material, but for some reason still aren't succeeding with the content. This could indicate poorly designed resources or poorly written assessments or poor outcome alignment or a difficult learning outcome. So that's the quadrant we tackled. We don't have time to improve all outcomes for all of our courses every semester. And so this analysis helps us pinpoint exactly where we want to target. So this is an example from one of our actual courses. You can see we have our x-axis, content engagement, y-axis is score on the outcome. These are z-scores, so basically showing on average how students are doing. And then the outcomes are labeled based on how far they are from the origin in this particular analysis. So this is one of the things that we do to do continuous improvement. Any questions on RISE? Why we do it, how we do it, when we do it, how
What does
awesome
the
it
RISE
is.
stand for again?
Resource inspection, selection, and enhancement. Kind of a forced acronym, but David Wiley made us think of something that was interesting. Yeah.
So I'm interested in how often.
Microphone. Give him a microphone.
I'm interested in how often you do this.
Yeah.
It looks like it's student-centered. So these data points, they're students.
So it's outcome, skill outcome.
Skill outcomes, and how students performed on those
Yeah.
skills.
Yeah.
So how often do you end up doing this? How much do you need in order to make it reliable?
Yep.
And-
Yeah.
And then I guess the question would, kind of going back to before we talked about the RISE, how much data you need to collect in order to get to a point where you feel like the material is actually our work?
Say your last one more time.
So how many iterations do you have to go through? You mentioned, your original hypothesis
Yeah.
is usually wrong, right? It needs to be refined in some way. So the question is, how much data do you need, or how many iterations do you go through before you feel like, okay, now we've got it, right?
Right. Yeah, so we run this analysis every semester. So we have a semester of data. We have, 300 to 3,000 students in the majority of our courses every semester, which means we have a lot of data to work with. So we run it every semester, and then we have a continuous improvement team, and their goal is to take this analysis, go into those 10 outcomes, look at the content and the assessments and the outcomes, and decide where the problem is. They usually hit every course every year. So we have about 25 or 30 Waymaker courses, and every course will receive this kind of continuous improvement effort once every year. Usually the first pass, I'll get to you in just a second. The first pass is usually assessment cleanup. Like, oh, this assessment was worded poorly, this assessment had a huge contextual paragraph that's confounding it, so it's not actually testing what we think it is. Sometimes the question wasn't actually addressed in the text for whatever reason. And so it's usually assessment cleanup, outcome cleanup, and once we have that, then we can start improving areas where students are struggling. And that's where we throw in interactives, or we might improve the number of practice questions we have for that particular outcome or something like that. We have yet to get to a place where we feel really good about a course, just because courses are big and there's a lot of points to address. Yeah, okay.
So I'm curious, what, if anything, can be done or is being done about students or outcomes that are in the bottom left corner?
Yeah, that's a good question. RISE 1.0 was just focusing on this bottom right, but you're right, there's like this outcome. This was the hardest outcome in the course that wasn't actually targeted. Let me just skip forward a few. I wanted to show you. Let me just take you now. Let's here. You can see our continuous improvement efforts if you go to lumenlearning.com/improving-learning. At the top it says ready to jump right in. You can just click get to it. And in here we have all of our courses. Anyone have a specific content preference?
Psychology.
Psychology, intro to psychology. Okay, so in our intro to psychology, we have start here, review the RISE. I know that's kind of small. Start here, review the RISE analysis, and then we've copied over all of our book content into Google Doc format, so anyone can go in and just comment on our course materials. So let's review the RISE analysis. And you can see here the hardest, well, let me show you the RISE first. So we did add these yellow ones. These yellow ones are the hardest outcomes that didn't show up in the red. So that's how we're targeting these, is we're now focusing on the hardest ones, but also the most used hardest ones. Does that make sense? And then it gives you what the outcome is. So this is explain the importance of pain and give examples of how expectations and context affect pain and touch experiences. So that's the outcome that students are struggling on the most. While we're here, let me also show you the assessment items, since that might be interesting to you. Intro to Psych. RISE 1. Okay, so these are the assessment items associated with that outcome. So this is the first one. When pain signals get exaggerated, it's because of damage to the what? We had 916 student responses. 9% chose A, 47% chose B, 3% chose C, and 41% chose D. Who here has taken 652, the assessment class? All of you people, tell me. Give me an assessment diagnostic report.
Does green mean that one's the correct answer?
Yep.
Well, this appears to not be very good because a lot of people are choosing the incorrect one. But I guess it also correlates with how they're performing on the rest of the tests. But, yeah.
Yeah, so 41% correct, that's a pretty low rate of correctness. So there's probably a misconception here, I'm guessing. If you don't know what nociceptors are, those are pain receptors. And so students might know, oh, I know that nociceptors are pain receptors, and so it must be damaged to those because it's talking about pain signals.
Is this the score on the quiz that they've taken?
So this is the score on this particular question.
On the quiz?
This question, but it was during a quiz.
So I guess the reason I'm wondering is I'm thinking back to your earlier presentation where you said that students are able to take every quiz twice.
Yep.
So a common strategy of students is to go in and guess the first time, use the feedback from the quiz as they're learning as opposed to reading. So I'm wondering if, the reason why you have a high failure rate is because really the majority failed the first time they took it because they hadn't really used the material. So it's not saying anything about the quality of the materials, it's more saying something about how the students have chosen to use the materials. If it makes sense what I'm saying.
That's an interesting hypothesis.
Right.
Students get different questions from their first and second attempt. Different questions aligned to the same outcome. So even if they knew the answer, it wouldn't help them on the next attempt. Also, we don't give students the correct answers. We just say whether they were correct or not correct for that summative quiz. So it's less likely for that to be the case, although it's a possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have just a question about this question.
Actually, Isaac, we have to cut you off. So you can ask Bob afterwards if that's all right. We're at the end of our seminar today. So let's thank Bob for spending some time with us this afternoon.